Production support for the weekly special is provided by Smithville, a local provider of fiber optic-based internet, TV, and phone services. Smithville's quantum fiber optic network allows large amounts of data to travel around the world from local homes and businesses. More at smithville.net. IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. publichealth.indiana.edu. And WTIU members, thank you.
It's definitely getting hot outside.
But we've got some great local stories to spice up your summer. We'll meet one of the world's most prolific hot pepper providers, celebrate community through an unlikely art form, take a glimpse at the future with IU's annual robot camp, and look back at one of our favorite bluegrass bands. We're going to have some great guests.
And some great discussions coming up on the weekly special.
Hello, I'm Erica Sagone.
And I'm Daryl Neer. Now, Erica, the summer came upon us awfully fast this year.
Yes, it got toasty quick, but I think that's pretty good for our gardens right now.
And speaking of the gardens, joining us today is Earth Eats Annie Corrigan, who is starting tonight off with a bang.
More like some heat. What do we have here, Annie?
Peppers, peppers, peppers. So this pepper, something they make YouTube videos about when people try them. This pepper, though, maybe, Daryl, I could convince you maybe to try this one. What do you just think about that? Put that in there.
I think I can do this.
Maybe?
Is this one okay? Safe?
You're very brave, Daryl.
Oh, he's doing it.
It starts off mild, and then there's some heat, and it's kind of getting a little bit hot right now.
So, Erica, you and I will talk as Daryl deals with whatever he's dealing with. These were all grown by the Chile Woman, Susan Wellsand, who lives and grows her peppers right here in South Central Indiana, maybe 10 minutes outside of the core of Bloomington. Over 2,000 varieties of peppers.
Wow.
It's an amazing place. We're very lucky to have her in town. So let's go take a look.
I had my first chili pepper when I was a kid. I grew up in Detroit in an immigrant neighborhood, and everybody's house had different food. And one of my neighbors had chili peppers, and I just fell in love with it. They fascinate me. They're the different shapes, the different colors, different aromas, different flavors. They're just so delicious. And when I moved out here, I had all this space, and there was this homemade greenhouse here. So I started to grow more and more plants in there, way more than one person could grow. Friends started buying them from me, and people suggested I sell them at farmers market, and it just kind of grew from there.
Now, 20 years later, Susan, or the Chile Woman as she is known, grows over 2,000 varieties. Each year, she ships her hot peppers to botanical gardens, home growers, and specialty chefs around the world.
It's not what they expect in the Midwest, especially if they think of the Midwest as being kind of bland. And I think it kind of blows people's mind that it's in Indiana.
But Susan isn't just known for her green thumb. She's also recognized for her green approach. In 2013, she won the National People and Planet Award from Green America.
It's always been my lifestyle. It used to be eccentric, and now it's like hip. And so when I started my business, I wanted to run it the way I had my lifestyle, to recycle everything we possibly could, to use local suppliers. Anything we can do like that, even if it's a small thing, we go ahead and do it.
And from the small to large farm helpers, Susan is always looking for new additions to her sustainable approach, even turning a tragedy, the destruction of the farm in a 2011 tornado, to a triumph.
In our home life, we used very little energy, but in my business life, I used a lot. And that always bothered me. And so after I got hit by the tornado in 2011 and all this canopy opened up, I decided to put in solar panels to power the greenhouses. And actually, it powers everything related to my business.
Each year, the greenhouses support over 30,000 hot pepper plants over the season. Some grown for consumers and some grown for seed.
My main goal in starting my business was to try and preserve the biogenetic diversity of chili peppers, get away from the hybrids, GMO seed, and I really wanted to keep the seeds viable and active. I do a lot of seed swapping with other growers, both commercial and home gardeners. 20 years ago, they weren't being grown. They were sitting in the USDA seed bank, kind of languishing. And Bloomington being the type of town it is, people would bring you peppers from their home country, or people who traveled to do research would bring peppers or seeds back. And I just was blown away by how different they all were. So I kind of wanted to begin to have a repository for all those seeds, to store them, but then also to keep all these rare varieties of chili peppers from dying out. As long as I've been doing it, I still get excited when the seeds first germinate. When that first seed pokes its head out of the dirt, you're like, yes! It's like a little tiny bit of life just came up. So that thrill never goes away.
And for those of you daring enough to try some of Susan's hot peppers, visit her website, thechiliwoman.com, for more information.
Annie, with so many varieties, I can never decide.
I know, thousands of varieties, all grown right here in southern Indiana. It's amazing to think about.
Yeah, pretty cool, right? If you've been to the Bloomington Farmers Market at all in the past, 10 years or so, you've seen Susan.
Yeah.
And as we saw in that piece, she's decked out in chili ware. Her table has all these chili plants. It's a really interesting place to visit. So if you're at the market next time, be sure to check out her table.
Yeah, she's an icon for sure at the
Absolutely.
Bloomington Market. Now, we've talked a lot about hot peppers. Does she grow anything sweet that I could eat? I don't have Daryl's palate.
Yeah, Daryl, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm fine. That was great.
She grows sweet peppers, she grows floral peppers, she grows ornamental peppers that you don't even eat.
Huh.
So I've got a recipe actually, Erica, that you're going to love.
Oh, great.
Uses sweet peppers and a bunch of other things that you're getting out of your garden right now to preserve and enjoy in maybe 3 or 4 months.
All right, sounds tasty. Let's take a look.
We're in your kitchen in Columbus, Indiana. It looks like we have a whole slew of peppers here on the stove.
Well, it gets to be that time of year where you have too many tomatoes, too many peppers, too many zucchini. And a great thing to do is to be able to taste those flavors all winter long. We've talked a lot about saving flavors and a way to stay local even during the winter. And one of the things you can do is make a wonderful relish. So that's what we're going to do today.
Excellent.
And basically, we've got some wonderful red and yellow peppers, about, cup and a half of each. We've got some garlic, about 1.5 cloves. I've got one nice big Scotch bonnet or habanero.
That is spicy.
But this is the key thing you're going to learn today, is if you leave this whole, it's not going to make the food spicy. It's going to give flavor, but it won't give heat. We're going to throw that in there whole. Throw in our jalapenos, some red onions, and we're going to give this a stir. And you can see the colors here.
It's beautiful.
I mean, it looks like Carnival in Rio, it's just very, very playful, nice colors, like a festival of flavors and aromas. Now to make this into a chutney, we're going to add our sugar. And for this amount, we're going to add about 1/2 to 2/3 of a cup. And then about a cup of cider vinegar, or today I'm going to use some homemade raspberry vinegar. So you want to use one of your sweeter vinegars. This we're going to add a little salt, maybe about a teaspoon. We can always add more later if we want. And we're going to crush some peppercorns. And that's going to give us little bites of pepperiness in our chutney. So what we want to do is just cook this, bring it down, then we'll strain it off. We'll reduce the liquids till it's a real thick syrup, toss them back together, and then we can refrigerate it until we want to use it. I'd let it simmer for probably about 15-20 minutes. We'll strain off the liquid, reduce the liquid down, combine the two back together, and that will be our chutney.
You can learn more about real food and green living on the Earth Eats website. Print off recipes, read the latest in food news, and subscribe to our weekly podcast. It's all available at eartheats.org.
You know, Annie, what a great way to savor the summer flavors all year round.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see this guy in there, in their hole? He just plucks it out.
No,
You don't
thank
eat
you.
it. Don't eat it.
Well, Annie, thanks so much for being on the show today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Annie.
Yeah.
Well, I know for sure our next artist has been to the farmer's market, and in fact, he was so inspired by his trips to the market, he created a piece, or rather, pieces.
I personally have just found puzzles a nice way to relax. Provides a brain activity, but it allows me to shut out everything else that might be going on around me and focus on this process that has a start and a finish. And I'm able to just work on the puzzle and go into this zen-like state where the world is still moving around me, but I'm content in this little bubble that I've created working on a jigsaw puzzle. I specialize in making puzzles that are based around the idea of Bloomington. And so when I say that, I create puzzles that have images of sites around the community that people might recognize. I hear people talk about what community is, and it's this group of people that you've been around, that know a little bit about you, that care about you. I've led such a charmed life of being part of the fabric of the arts and cultural community of Bloomington. So for me, blending this love of Bloomington culture with the craft that I was able to do at home was a win-win situation. I spend hours at a saw each day, and where I see the quality difference from my very first puzzle to where I'm at now is the intricacy of the cuts and the interlocking pieces, the shape of the outlines of these figural type pieces that I do. When we say I make jigsaw puzzles, I'm not stacking 2 or 3 pieces of wood and making 3 puzzles at the same time. Every single piece is gone over and takes anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes to cut. And then depending on the puzzle size or the scale, it could take me a half hour to cut the puzzle, or it could take me 10 hours to cut a puzzle. Generally, when I begin a puzzle, I try to complete the puzzle at the same sitting. If I step away from a puzzle in the middle of cutting it for any considerable length of time, when I come back in, I don't have the same rhythm. So if I'm trying to mimic the same shape and style of puzzle cuts, I need to make sure I'm cutting it all the way through from start to finish. But the beauty of irregular shaped pieces is I have no idea how many pieces the end product is going to be, and I really don't care. In fact, if you bought one of my puzzles and lost a piece to it, I would probably have to make you a new puzzle. I don't think I could recreate the piece because I'm not necessarily following these templates that you can just cookie cut out the exact piece that's missing. Everyone has its own symmetry to the puzzle pieces. So I can just really cut where it feels natural. Quite often the image of the puzzle that I'm cutting can help define what the puzzle looks like. So I've noticed if I'm cutting a puzzle that might be of Lake Monroe and have water, I feel like the puzzle piece shapes have more of a wavy feel to them, like rippling water. Where if I were cutting a quarry, I might be looking at more solid 90-degree angles to be incorporated into the cutting style to kind of mimic the image that you're looking at. But what I strive for when I make a jigsaw puzzle is that you can pick up the puzzle by one corner, hold it completely up in the air, and the entire puzzle will stay together, which is something that you don't get even from high-end store-bought puzzles for the most part. From talking to the people that buy my puzzles, it's a new experience for them, and they talk about this feeling they get when they interlock the piece and it kind of snaps into place and forms a secure bond. That is really fun to hear the stories and to think, wow, I made that, you know, I did that in my garage. It's really awesome to have this experience.
You can check out more of Mark's wonderful wooden puzzles at presspuzzles.com. And we are very happy to welcome the man himself. Thanks so much for joining us, Mark.
Great, it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon.
Well, those of you with a careful eye might have noticed that there were some sharks in some of Mark's puzzles throughout the segment. And so, Mark, I've got to ask you, what's the shark connection?
Well, I've had a fear of sharks growing up. It's something that a lot of people my generation, from watching the movie Jaws, have experienced. And I realize it's an irrational fear. So the last 5 or 6 years, I've actually been engaging in reading about sharks, watching movies, documentaries, and over the last 3 years actually getting in the water with different types of sharks.
Okay.
And so I've tried to, while my focus with Press Puzzles is Bloomington themed imagery, as a personal passion, I'm making a line of shark-driven puzzles.
All right.
And I am looking at selling these puzzles, and the proceeds will be split between a shark conservation charity and sending me to Mexico for a week of cage diving with great white sharks.
Wow, you are very brave.
You know, it's an irrational fear, and I want to get over that, and I don't see how my life will not be affected heavily after encountering a great white shark in their environment.
Yeah, and what made you decide to use puzzles to help you get there?
Well, I couldn't justify the funds that it's going to take to go cage diving with a great white shark, so I thought with the puzzles, what if I actually created a line of puzzles and then earmarked the funds generated for this specific task? And so I've searched the web for public domain artwork that feature sharks, and there's two in particular. Winslow Homer has a painting called The Storm that heavily features sharks, and then Livingston Copley has a painting called Watson and the Shark.
Gosh, well, Mark, good luck with all of that. You're very, very brave.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best of luck, and much thanks for joining us and stopping by in the studio for a visit today.
And you can visit with Mark this weekend at Bloomington Arts Fair on the Square. For more information, visit their website, artsfair.org.
From art to technology, there are so many wonderful annual events that take place right here each summer.
And we're happy to welcome our next guest, a colleague at Indiana University's Pervasive Technology Institute. But first, let's get a sneak peek of the exciting event taking place right now.
The coolest thing about robotics camp is the people. There's a lot more girls than I thought, which is awesome. My team is great, and it's just a fun experience.
It just sounded kind of fun, you know, programming robots and having a big challenge at the end, and have it with the mission, you know, like when they go over colors, it's really cool making them have different sounds. Like for blue, I made it a T-Rex.
I came here last year and had a really good time, and I really enjoy playing with Lego Mindstorms. When you finally get all the bugs worked out and everything, and it works just so perfectly, there is nothing better than that.
I've got to say, this is one of those times when I really wish I was a kid.
Absolutely, and we're happy to welcome one of those amazing people that help make this a reality for the kids. And today we welcome Robert Ping to the studio. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Now, Robert, you have one of the robots that the kids put together here. Could you tell us a little bit about the backstory about putting together this camp that allows the kids to do such a great experience?
Absolutely. You know, the overarching goal of our camps are just to get kids interested in going to school, in science and technology. One of the best outcomes, of course, is if they wind up at Indiana University. But whether they wind up at Purdue or any place else, just leading them into science, technology, or some discipline, mathematics or engineering, we really have a problem in the United States with having enough kids to fill all of the different jobs that are in those industries.
Well, you know, and you take a look at the robot itself. I mean, this is made out of Legos, which is brilliant at giving kids a product that they know to get into science.
Absolutely, and it's fun for them. They don't even realize how much they're learning. We talk about it though, so that they do sort of have all these aha moments. They learn some public speaking. They learn about computer programming for sure, and a whole bunch of different elements that we have purposefully brought into the camp to make it a broader experience. So no matter what they plan to do in the future, it's going to be helpful to them.
Are there expectations about the technology skills or science skills they're bringing to the camp?
There really are none. We offer this for junior high and high school kids. So when a parent writes to me and says, I have someone who's almost in junior high, would it be okay if they come? We talk to them and we say, you know your kid's best. If you think your kid could hold their attention for a 2-day camp and work well with others and follow instructions of the leaders, then sometimes we'll make an exception.
Well, and we saw in the piece, they're highlighting the programming. It's a really graphical interface that the kids are working with. Could you explain the importance of that type of format in the programming of robotics?
Sure. So computer programming, computer programmers spend hours creating a program to cause a robot to do what you want it to do. So for the kids to come for a 2-day camp, it has to be something that is easy for them to understand. Making it graphical makes it more fun. So the Lego Mindstorm kits that we purchased 8 years ago have really served us well. This is our 8th or 9th year for the camp. We bought all new hardware and software this year. We were lucky enough to receive some money from the Indiana University Pervasive Technology Institute to do so. And we have other sponsors that help make the camp a reality. We provide lunch, we provide snacks, and for some of the more underprivileged kids in our community, that's really important, to provide a free camp where we also provide snacks and lunch as well.
Now, we've emphasized the science portion of
Sure.
the camp, but what I think is brilliant about what you do is that this puts science in a context where they develop so many different life skills. And can you talk about those life skills that they're taking away from this 2-day experience?
Absolutely. Public speaking. And the first thing they do is introduce themselves to all the other 29 campers and to the leaders. And of course, the leaders start out by introducing themselves. So we talk about how we wound up in information technology. We talk about our backgrounds. I was a music education major who ended up following an elementary education degree. One of the camp leaders who's been around for 7 or 8 years has an undergraduate degree in Japanese. So this really tells the campers, wow, I can maybe go after lots of different venues and still wind up in information technology doing something fun in that area as well. And so they stand up, they introduce themselves, and at the end of the camp, they have to explain all of their programming to friends and family during the Robot Grand Challenge. So that's another area time where they get to practice that public speaking.
Well, Robert, we appreciate you spending time with us, and it's such a fascinating camp. Thanks so much for coming in.
Yes, thanks for bringing Oliver the robot in too.
And to get the latest information on IU's Pervasive Technology Institute, visit their website, pti.iu.edu.
Bands from across the state will be gathering this weekend for the annual Taste of Bloomington.
And one of our favorite musical guests will be there to entertain the crowd with their bluegrass roots.
For me and Bert anyway, you can't fake being a hillbilly, you know. We grew up in the woods out here. Like, I'm more comfortable playing on the porch or in here than I am in front of people.
It was me, Sean, Barry, you know, we all grew up here in the county. We used to just play on Tuesday nights back here, some of us.
We started out, it was a strong 2-guitar thing, you know. We wanted to keep that going. And Sean's the guy that taught me how to play. Sean got mad and quit a few times, and we got Dan to take over.
After Sean passed, then Dan took Sean's spot.
We've shuffled around, had a few people here and there, but for the most part, what we have now, we've had for the last 4 or 5 years.
We've all been exposed to a lot of traditional music. A lot of it kind of just branched out into what they call newgrass, which is a combination of using traditional instruments and playing a little more progressive.
We just play what we feel.
Yeah.
I don't like to play the same thing twice.
You can go to the traditional bluegrass festival and I love it, but only by the vocalists can you tell that they've changed bands, because it's just the same old thing, you know, and we don't play the same old thing. It's just a little more progressive than bluegrass, and I think that the songs we play aren't, a lot of them aren't traditional.
You know, getting an opportunity to play up at Bill Monroe's and play on the big stage and everything is pretty exciting, you know. Different people bring different elements, you know. I feel just blessed to be able to play with people who are so accomplished. You know, you got to raise your game up to try to just keep up, you know.
Get the latest information on their upcoming performances by visiting their Facebook page.
Well, we're going to end tonight with their incredible weekly special performance.
Get out, enjoy the weather, the events, and the community. Thanks so much for joining us.
And have a great night.
Old golf course, it's the only game in town. You can live here like Tom Sawyer, bring your checkbook and your lawyer when you come to visit here in the hills of Brown. It all started last November, can't forget as I remember. I got caught trespassing while standing in my yard. Well, they pulled a pistol beside me in a chair and hollered at me while my girlfriend stood there looking at me hard. Go to Brown County on vacation, leave here on probation. Post golf course, it's the only game in town. You can't live here like Tom Sawyer, bring your checkbook and your lawyer when you come to visit here in the hills of Brown.
Production support for the weekly special is provided by Smithville, a local provider of fiber optic-based internet, TV, and phone services. Smithville's quantum fiber optic network allows large amounts of data to travel around the world from local homes and businesses. More at smithville.net. IU School of Public Health Bloomington, addressing public health needs by preventing disease, promoting health, and improving quality of life across the state and around the world through research, teaching, and community engagement. publichealth.indiana.edu. And WTIU members, thank you.